So season review for the Crusaders, 2018 Super Rugby champions. Congratulations. What do I say, man? It was really good. 14 wins, 2 losses, perfect record at home. Very, very good season. 2 times in a row now, back-to-back for the Crusaders. They are looking like a tough outfit. They've been a tough outfit all season, and from the look of things, next year is going to be pretty tough as well for everyone else. If we look at some of the good things, where did it go right for the Crusaders? How were they so able to dominate Super Rugby this year? Miles ahead the best record. They finished 12 points ahead of the next best finisher. 12 points. It's just really a cut above every other team this season. So the good things, first in points. Well, that kind of makes sense because you finished top of the table by 12 points. First equal for tries scored, average tries scored per game. Some of the stats good but not top. So 4th for line breaks and 5th for tackle busts. And then, to be fair, with the ball, there's a whole bunch of middling stats. So you got run meters, advantage line, like getting over the advantage line, 7+ phases, offloads, goal kicking. All these things are in the middle, like 7th or 9th. Not great, not poor. Which is kind of surprising when you see just how dominant the Crusaders were. But their line-out was operating 4th overall, 89%. And then you look at the defensive stats and it kind of all becomes clear. 15th for points conceded on average. And this is the team that's average first point scorer. So top for points, last for conceding points. That's a pretty good combination for success. They were the 14th team for missing tackles. I mean, you could also say that because the other teams had the ball, they didn't have... Oh, sorry, the other teams didn't have the ball because the Crusaders are dominant. They didn't have to make as many tackles, but still, 14th overall for missed tackles. 15th overall for run meters conceded. So dead last for conceding run meters. Dead last for line breaks conceded. Dead last for tries conceded. They don't concede points. They don't concede meters. They don't miss tackles. This is why they are far and above the best Super Rugby team of 2018. You just can't break down that Crusaders defense. And when they get the ball, line breaks, tackle busts, points, that is going to break you down. It's not all perfect. I mean, they were the 12th team, so towards the bottom of the table for winning the opponent's line-out ball, which is surprising when you got Sam Whitelock, who's such a good defensive line-out specialist. And, I mean, you got Scott Barrett there as well, who's a world-class lock. They were 12th for turnovers, so winning the ball. I mean, Matt Todd, when you look at his stats, he's pretty far behind guys like Sam Cane, David Pocock, even Michael Hooper. Even guys like Ethan Blackadder had a higher average turnover rate than him. I mean, Blackadder only played 3 games, so it's hard to kind of say. But again, you could just say that the Crusaders had the ball so much they didn't need to always be turning the ball over. So they're going to get less turnovers because they have the ball more. So it's kind of susceptible. All the stats are kind of, can be a bit fuzzy, but I mean, those defensive stats are just incredible. Individual guys, I mean, that's all I can find. Everything else for the Crusaders, at worst, it's middling. The Crusaders just generally aren't bad at anything, really. George Bridge, guy who can't make the All Blacks. Number 2 for tries with 15. 7th for line breaks. The guy had a very good season, and he still can't make the All Blacks. I guess he's still young. There's still time. Like I said, Ethan Blackadder was pretty good with his turnovers, even though he had 3 games. Just a guy who can't make the Crusaders squad, but looks to be a real young talent. So there's a lot of positives there for the Crusaders. In terms of highlights for this season, the season is almost one big highlight. I apologize if I sound a little bit bitter. I'm a Blues fan, and the Blues are terrible, and the Crusaders are just so good. I give you guys credit, man. You're very good. Breaks my heart a little bit to have to read all this stuff out, but what can I say? Credit to such a good organization, good coaching staff, good players. Just people should just be copying what the Crusaders do because the formula is right. Highlights: unbeaten at home, Tour of South Africa was just the one game. They beat the Lions 14-8 in a rematch of the final. Managed to win that game. Second match of the kind of South African tour was actually in Argentina to play the Jaguares. So a lot of travel with a pretty injured squad at the start of the season. Hop over to South Africa, get a win. Hop over to Argentina. Beat the Jaguares 40-14. Pretty impressive stuff. They did, though, go on a losing run, if you can call it that. 2 games they lost in a row, to the Canes 29-19 and to the Highlanders 25-17. At that point, it was kind of a blip in the season, but it looked like maybe they're not invincible. They're going to kind of struggle with some of the other teams, and maybe it's the Hurricanes who are the new dominant force in New Zealand rugby, Super Rugby, but then, nah. Crusaders just went on a big run for the rest of the season and won all the games. I mean, there's a particularly strong run towards the end of the season. You look at the Crusaders, like I talked about the Highlanders in my review of their season, how they kind of seem to peter out at the end of the season. You look at the Crusaders, week 18, so a couple of weeks out from the end of the season, they beat the Highlanders at home 45-22, so avenging that loss that they had in Dunedin. Week 19, they beat the Blues. Admittedly, the Blues are bad, but the Crusaders, could have eased up. It's the last game of the season. They're already guaranteed top spot on the log. 54-17. They run riot against the poor Blues team. Quarterfinal, Sharks 40-10. Sharks never in it. In my preview, I said maybe the Sharks are one of the few teams that can get the formula right against the Crusaders. Not a chance. Semi-final against the Hurricanes, 30-12. You're thinking maybe the Crusaders against that Hurricanes team with that magic backline might be put under pressure. Not comfortable as you like. And then the final, 37-18 over the Lions. Again, didn't really look doubtful at any point. The Waratahs game is probably the only game where you thought the Crusaders might actually going to lose at home, but they still managed to win. Championship team. I mean, I could say their game against the Brumbies over in Canberra was a low light, but they still won. It was just a bit of a poor game. So, yeah, it was an ugly, ugly win. And they were less than convincing when they beat the Sunwolves. I think it was 33-11. But, I mean, it's a bit of a stretch for me to find low lights where they're still managing to get wins. And that's what championship teams do. When they don't play their best, still manage to get a win. Next year, if you're a fan of anyone else but the Crusaders, this is going to get pretty scary because they're losing Wyatt Crockett, the legendary All Blacks and Crusaders prop who couldn't even make the Crusaders team for the final. They're losing Pete Samu to the Brumbies. He's going back to Australia. And they're losing Tamani Valu to France. He's probably the biggest loss of the lot. But pretty much anyone else who, when you think of big name Crusaders players, are they on contract for next year? Yes. They're all going to be there next season. Even guys like Israel Dag, again, couldn't make the final. He's there. George Bridges there. Kieran Reid's there. Matt Todd's there. Whitelock. Barrett. Basically, if you can name a Crusaders player who you think's big name player, one of the best players in their position, yep, they're on contract for next year. There's a question mark about some of the fringe players. So Bedwell Curtis doesn't have a contract for next year. Ethan Blackadder doesn't have a contract for next year. Luke Romano is probably one of the bigger ones who's kind of a question mark player. Tim Bateman. So there's a few guys who are up in the air as to whether they're going to stay. They are getting Fetu Douglas back, who looked really good before he went off to Italy the year before last. And Mata Elia is another guy who's yet to be confirmed. But pretty much all the big guns are still there next year, minus Crockett, Samu, and Tamani Valu. Who, none of them, I mean, Crockett, as I said, couldn't make the final. Samu was perpetually on the bench. And Tamani Valu was probably the main starter they're losing. So, same coach for next year, mostly the same players. They are going to be the favourites for Super Rugby next year by a pretty long way, I would imagine. If anyone can stop them from doing a three-peat, it's going to be pretty impressive because they look the business. So, yeah. Watch out for 2019. You guys let me know your thoughts on the Crusaders season for 2018. Like I said, it was pretty dominant, cut above the best team in the comp. A whole bunch of All Blacks there. And it looks to be pretty steady as she goes for next year. So it's going to be pretty tough to beat them. But yeah, like I said, you guys let me know your thoughts, and I'll talk to you again soon. See you later.